Chapter 5. A Viking Dream. St. Stephen's Mass Day, 26th of December, 870 AD, Silverbourne Manor, Rotherfield Grays, Anglo-Saxon England. Matt had only slept at Silverbourne Manor for one night, so assumed the spooky noises and dampness were normal. He had woken earlier than he typically did and checked the time. It must have been around 4 or 5 a.m., but all he could see around him was darkness. No morning sunlight, no lights, and nothing electronic. The HistorAI must have done something, he thought to himself. Matt reached over to his bedside table, or where one ought to have been, and tried to find his phone. He searched for a few seconds and could only feel something metallic. He looked over. It was a small dagger, a small knife with a case. Strange, he thought. His head was killing. Perhaps too much brandy had caused him to hallucinate or have some bizarre dream, causing the AI system to reinterpret his love for Anglo-Saxon history. The room smelled weird. He tried to ascertain exactly where he was. Perhaps this was some ancient precursor of the main Silverbourne Manor, something from 1,200 years ago, perhaps. It might have been around 800 AD, but he wasn't sure. But his cock was rock hard, so thoughts about history and architecture suddenly left his mind. The stone lintel and open-shuttered windows could wait. He had bigger things to attend to. Matt started to think about the threesome he'd had with Finn and Ali on the first night he'd arrived at the manor house. It was so bloody hot, even for him. He didn't usually enjoy the cumbersome logistics of navigating two guys at once, but they had both made it fluid and easy. He reached down and took his cock into his right hand and started stroking it. Up and down. It felt good, and although he wasn't huge in size, he did love feeling the veiny cock in his hands. A small amount of pre-cum under his foreskin helped lubricate his penis, enough for it to feel good as he stroked it rhythmically and firmly. Then, from nowhere, he heard a loud bang. Then he heard a shout in a weird language he hadn't ever heard before. It sounded potentially Swedish or Danish. Kom ut! Vi män komma! Come out, the men are coming. He didn't respond. He was too scared. He then heard a bang at the door, and then it opened suddenly. A blonde, blue-eyed guy walked in. He was tall. Very, very tall. He was incredibly delicious looking, but also fairly scary, seeing as he had a shield and a small bow. He had a fair face, however, which made him seem less dangerous. Matt was semi-naked and didn't know what to do. He gathered his thoughts and searched his brain for anything Scandinavian or Danish that he might know. Perhaps HistorAI didn't know how to translate Old Norse, he thought. Fagmathor ani? The blonde guy asked. This time in a more pleasant way. He walked over to Matt with a smile on his face. He had asked Matt to get on his knees. It wasn't a scary look on his face, but actually one of lust. Perhaps he was in luck, after all, and perhaps the AI had decided to bless him with a fun experience instead of some weird reenactment battle or play fight. He didn't respond to the guy and simply unveiled his cock and continued stroking. The Viking raider seemed to like this. He finally reached Matt and started kissing him after removing his weapons and some of his other belongings. Matt started to unfasten his armor and reciprocate by kissing him back. It was carnal. It was rough. The guy then spoke English. The HistorAI system had clearly figured out which language it was. I told you already, the men are coming. But get on your knees quickly, and I'll spare your life. You want me to suck your big Viking cock? Matt responded. It was somewhat cheesy, and perhaps wrong, as the guy maybe wouldn't have called himself a Viking. The AI would translate Viking into Norrun Mathor, but it couldn't matter less at that moment, as Matt was already hastily undoing the fastening strings and other buttons on the guy's trousers, or for what passed as trousers. "Quickly, the men are coming. We don't have long. I told you to meet me here early for a reason," the Viking added. Matt was enjoying this fantasy a lot, and by now had unfastened the armor and other clothing, and the guy's cock had become loose. Surprisingly, it was cut. He didn't expect this, and, well, he didn't care at all. He grabbed the guy's thighs and took his member into his mouth. Salty. Slightly salty. This Viking had clearly been running or working out. He was sweaty underneath, and it tasted damn fine, meaning Matt was extra eager. He managed to release the guy's balls, too, with his left hand and started licking them eagerly. They were sweaty, too, and filled his entire mouth. "Bloody hell," he said out loud, by accident. "Sen de riktig helgar," he said. Matt wasn't sure what this meant, but he enjoyed the passion that this young Viking raider had. He had to admit, even though they probably burnt half of England, they had damn fine penises. He wasn't sure what to say in response, but was horny and figured the AI would translate it for him. "Fuck me, daddy," he said. He didn't quite hear English coming out of his mouth and simply heard a sentence in Old Norse. "Have med mir samfar father." He supposed this meant something like, "Have sex with me, father." At that moment, it didn't matter. The guy had already heard what he'd said and taken it literally. The AI wouldn't let them do that, however, and the whole mirage ended. It was abrupt. The whole room went dark, and Matt stood and scrambled back to bed. He felt silly. He'd pushed the HistorAI too far. Error. Dialogue rejected. HistorAI safety layer prohibited content detected. Reason. Attempted use of non-historical explicit language. Action. Speech suppressed. Simulation continuity maintained. "You bloody idiot," he said aloud. He was totally alone now, and the room had returned to the 2025 version of his reality, his actual world. He was mortified. The guy had such incredible facial features. He was strong, handsome, and dominant. He was about to get fucked, which, although not real, would have probably felt incredible. He'd have to finish wanking alone. He was absolutely mortified and somewhat less horny than he'd been a few seconds ago. He wasn't sure what to do, and he felt silly. He briefly wondered whether he could sneak into Finn and Ali's room, but decided that it probably wasn't a good idea in case they were trapped in some bizarre reality too. They had chosen Regency England the night before, which didn't really appeal to him. Too frilly, he thought. Too much lace and bizarre powdered wigs. Definitely not his thing. He was mildly upset that he had ruined the whole HistorAI experience, as he'd been too hungry and wanted to get fucked by the Viking. So decided to sleep. Perhaps he would get lucky with Andy and Freddy later on that day. He decided to sleep instead and turned off the light, got back into bed properly and fell back into a deep slumber.